It's alive! It's alive!
But, Mutran, it really isn't.
Oh, I guess you're right. Hello everyone and welcome to the Recap Review. Today we're going to be looking over set number 8952, Mutran and Vican. The set contains approximately 90 pieces, with 69 of those being comprised of Mutran and 21 for Vican. The set was released in the winter of 2008, being a United States Walmart exclusive, however not necessarily an exclusive anywhere else. And at time of release, the set was approximately $15. Alright, so I gotta say, I'm really glad that I'm doing the recent reviews during this time, or at least the recaps during this time, because I'm going to be doing the recent reviews momentarily. So it's really great that I'm reviewing this set, because this was 2008's version of a 2-pack. So, let's waste no time, and let me go ahead and remind everyone of my disclaimer. So, disclaimer, just because a pro and or a con is here in this video does not necessarily mean that it is my personal opinion. I will explicitly say whether it is or is not. So please, unless I say that any given pro or con is my opinion, please assume that I am just doing what I normally do, which is take pros and cons and opinions and facts from the community now and during the time these sets were released and presenting them to you here. So I will explicitly say when or if an opinion is my own. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead with the review. Let's start off with Vican, since he's the smallest and we've already gone over the Mutran. So here we have Vican. And he's just your basic Cardatoran build. He's got a few extra pieces. The color scheme is solid because of it. Obviously enough, the major criticisms for Vican here is that he doesn't have a whole lot of playability. The parts are rather, well, static. He's got no articulation in his elbows, nor in his knees. His head, oh, wow, that was painful to hear. His head has limited mobility, thanks to the build of the torso, and the head just in general. His feet are awkwardly constructed. They're not the standard Cardatoran feet. They're kind of a custom build. However, because of that, you have to lean him forward. He has to lie kind of like that. Otherwise, he is liable to fall over. So while his color scheme is consistent, it is comprised mostly of lime green, which brings me to my next thing. All the joints, because they're the redesigned joint, they're brittle. They're incredibly small, very prone to breakage, and it doesn't help that all of his parts are lime. So there's that. He does have somewhat of an awkward construction too. His wings are not put on stereotypically, or at least normally, because they are elongated for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure. Now on the bright side, he does have a few recolors, specifically the mask. So by a few, I mean really just one. It is the mask. It is the Noble Shalik, I believe, Mask of Silence. He has one giant orange piece, which represents his eyes, and some people could take that as being a good thing, and others not, because it's just one solid brick. Not a literal brick, but a piece of plastic. Another issue people would have would be the hands. Obviously enough, we're using Nuparu Inika's claws, but they're on the inside instead of the outside of the hand. So it's supposed to represent actual claws, and they are his hands. That is the point here. However, some may not like it because it looks like he's just holding them on the bottom of his hands. Not to mention the red axles that are being used. Some may argue that it coincides with the transparent orange of his eyes. Others may say it's just obnoxious. So, Vican is about as much as you could expect from an Mutran, or at least a Cardatoran. He's a little bit different, so that variety is something that people like about him. However, at the end of the day, he's still a Cardatoran, so that's about as far as that's going to go. However, to note, this is a good deal. You're getting Mutran and Vican. Vican is really cheap because let's say hypothetically, see, these are both higher price point sets. One of them's $13, the other is stereotypically, or generally, standardly about, I guess, $7. So you are getting a good value. But let's go ahead and move on to the big bad of this box, Mutran. So Mutran in the story is one of the Makuta, obviously, and he is their primary scientist in a group full of scientists. But he's like the guy, he's not blind, so he can really do a lot of the work. He's the one that set up the Shadow Leech kind of farm in Cardanui. So let's go over the set. He is a standard Inika build with a few modifications. He has the new torso piece that all of the Makuta have. As you can see here, no change in the color. Sorry about that. In fact, he doesn't have a whole lot of new pieces in general. He has new pieces for the wave, however, he doesn't have any new recolors. These wings are in black. We have had these before. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure we had these pincers in silver before. We've had all of these pieces in the colors here before, except for the mask. That is the Great Shalik, and that is in black and lime. Now, obviously, he shares a lot of the same issues with Vican, actually. Being the joints, that is. Not only are they lime joints, which brings with them their own issues, but they are the new redesigned joint. And actually, if you look closely, you can see there's already a crack right there. There's a crack right there. Several different cracks. So the mocking potential is effectively 0. He does actually have the standard points of articulation, however. The hands, you could count them as being extra, but for the purpose of this, he's got 2 in the arms, 2 in the legs, or 3 in the legs, and 3 in the arms, and then 1 in the head. However, he also has these wings, and they can fold back like that, make it look kind of like a cape, or come all the way out. So, go up even further. So there's that. As far as weapons go, he doesn't have anything all that interesting. The most interesting weapon that he does have is his spear. This piece is just one, basically it's 2 parts, and we've already gotten them before. His color scheme is rather solid, except for the giant orange cube in the center of his chest, and that is the Tridax pod, and that's one of pretty much only one function aside from the hands, if you could count those. What you do, like all the other Makuta, you push on this little silver tab here. The Tridax pod will come out. Now, in the Tridax pod, and when it hits the ground, it should break apart. I'm not dropping it from a high enough place, but it'll break apart, and in here, you'll have these Shadow Leeches. They are no different from any other Shadow Leech you would get with any other set. There will be 4 of them, and no more. So then you wrap that back up, and place it back in. Now, when the Tridax pod is in there, it is what it is. It's a giant round orb of orange, and some people may or may not like that. Coincides with his eye color, but not much else. However, without it, it's basically just a giant voided area. It looks quite empty. One could argue that for story purposes that works fine, considering they are basically just shells of armor. However, as a set, because the story does not affect the set, some may see that more as a con. Alternatively, you may like that because it looks kind of similar to a skeleton, really evil and decrepit. Is that the right word? I'm not sure. Anyhow, moving on. Like I said, his color scheme and his build, relatively simple. The color scheme is black, silver, and lime. So you're not going to get anything out of this world. And the lime is actually more of an accent color. It's more of a differentiation from the other Makuta. But it's odd that they included lime in his color scheme, because we're already going to get another lime Makuta later on in the year. Some people really like the hands. They're really cool claw pieces. However, on the other hand, they are really big. Proportionally, they are oversized. So it's really whatever floats your boat. His balance is stable. He's using the Paraka feet. So that is what it is. Overall, the build, you're not going to get anything special. It's basically a modified Inika build. And that's only because of the new torso piece. You're not going to get anything out of this world, but if you like that build, you will be satisfied. Because it is, while it's a formula, it is a formula because it works well. So, there's one other feature, and that is with Vican. While in the story there's no real reason for this to be the case, he can do this in the set. As you can see on the back here, like the other Fantoka Makuta, you have this kind of L-shaped piece. This angle. And what you do, similar again to the other Makuta, is you take Vican and you see these two holes here. You basically just connect it like so. Come on. There we go. And you know, put him in a flying pose. Vican can kind of sit on top. They can do this whole flying bit. Whoosh, swoosh him around the room. Boom, boom, I'm gonna kill you, Toa. So there is that. Standing up, however, it does look a little bit awkward because Vican is kind of just hanging on for dear life. And by hanging on, I mean he's kind of just flailing his arms. So he's like, help me, help me. By the way, story-wise, he's not an actual Av Matoran. He is a Lee Matoran. So, and I believe he's the first Matoran to have ever been shadowified. So, that essentially sums up Mutran and Vican. There's not a whole lot to them. They're not any more unique or different than any of the other Makuta. However, if you bought this when it was released, you would have been given an outstanding deal because you are getting unique recolors. You are getting both of these sets at an excellent price. So overall, you are getting a decent value. Would I personally recommend you buy this set right now? I'm not going to give any recommendation right now, honestly. The one final thing people may have a grievance with would be the blue pins. Now, granted, they don't stick out as much as red ones, but they are present, and they do not really work with the color scheme as it is now. They are not supposed to be an accent. So, that about sums it up. That has been Mutran and Vican. What do you guys think? Did you guys get this guy when he came out? Please let me know either in the comments below or on the TTV message boards at board.ttvpodcast.com. Please feel free to join me next week when I look over the one, the only, the mask that could, Toa Ignika. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.